question. What, how you think if you were elected president and you enacted all of what you just said, how that would affect relations with Mexico and how you would go about dealing with that?
Well, I don't feel it reflects anything poorly in a relationship, as opposed to, or in the sense that having legal people enter the country is a good thing. I would still continue communicating and trading and understanding and traveling, promote a free travel sort of open relationship, but again, it would have to be in a legal entering to gain citizenship into the country. So it wouldn't break down the relationship, it would actually enhance it, I feel.
Even if an increased number of deaths would happen because of any type of, as we know, people still come into the country, and with the border, that is now being created, and the what's being built right now at the border, many have said that it will eventually cause a great number of deaths because of the desert area that is, and that people will still continue to cross that will not stop them. You don't think that increasing the number of deaths might kind of sour relationships?
Well, it doesn't reflect, the number of deaths increasing doesn't reflect on our policies. If we have stricter borders and we have an established visa waiting time period for people who are eligible to come to the country, then they would be able to gain that. We can't think of immigration as something that always goes on and will never stop, and that it's always going to link into the country. We have to understand that we can stop it, and then we should.
Senator McCain, Tim here from NBC News. Last week, when President Bush released his economic stimulus plan, you came out outright, flatly, said that you didn't like it, you didn't agree with it. And in your ad that you released last week, you also criticized the Bush administration. Why is there so much animosity between yourself and the current administration?
Well, I think that the current administration has created so much deficit by doing overspending, by not, it's also hurt the American people by not making correct strategies for the Iraq war. It's made a lot of mistakes and hasn't been willing to look at advice for others to correct its mistakes. And I feel that we shouldn't go along with an administration that's already made so many mistakes. We shouldn't trust it anymore.
Governor Huckabee, you have an economic policy reform that puts the emphasis on consumer taxes and lessens income tax to promote savings. Do you see this being a problem with the majority of special interest groups in Washington and the possibility of even passing such a reform?
Politicians often worry about those special interest groups, but the thing is that those special interest groups do not always necessarily have the best intentions for the American people in mind. So, considering that my best intentions are for the American people solely, then it really doesn't matter. I really want to decrease our budget deficit by changing our tax system. True, our IRS system currently in place is not going to be very happy, but you know what? It's for the people. Thank you.
John McCain. Tim from NBC News.
I can't hear.
Tim from NBC News.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you concerning the war in Iraq. We know that you want to continue the war in Iraq. The war has been going on for 5 years and not much progress has been made. What makes you think another 5 years and billions of dollars more spent would make any difference?
Well, I believe my strategy because I do have the experience of a military official, I do know different techniques that we can use to help the Iraq war. I feel that it would be irresponsible to pull out now because we would not only be hurting our people, we'd be hurting the Iraqi people, and that we would be showing extremists that we are willing to back down. I believe that we can have success. At the same time, I understand that if the American people are not going to support this war, we can't continue it. And I'd be willing to pull out if Americans were not willing to continue supporting.
Mayor Giuliani, Vincent Chin from the Davis Enterprise. At the beginning of this year, Northern California was hit with a pretty heavy storm which left thousands of people without power. And in the city of Davis, it became somewhat of an issue as there are retirement homes here in Davis that were without power. Now, as you were once mayor of New York, you have experience running a city. How would you prevent a situation like this from happening again?
Well, to prevent the situation, it's all a matter of being prepared for the inevitable. Everybody has to make sure that they are ready to be prepared for crises. There has to be other backup generators that are at places so that they can have essential energy for the people that are actually needing immediate medical response. I believe that the PG&E throughout Northern California was possibly ill-prepared, and also the city of Davis. They need to look at more affordable outside energy sources that they could also be using with a storm, like maybe wind power and things like that. That would also be able to help generate some other outsourcing power sources.
Mayor Giuliani. You're known for decreasing the crime rate in New York City by increasing the police force and arresting minor criminals such as vandalism and so forth. Critics say that the crime rate would have gone down either way, as seen in other metropolitan areas. What do you have to say about that?
As said earlier, it's great that everybody has their own opinion, but I believe that the way how I ran New York City did show, a strong decrease in crime. They can compare it to other cities. However, New York City is now one of the safest metropolitan cities in America and in the world. And we can also look at the fact that New York City is one of the largest metropolitan cities in the world. And so for the crime rate to go down significantly as it did, I believe has, to show an effect of my increase in the police force. And, it made New York City become one of the more economically booming cities that we have in the world as it is.
Congressman, follow-up question, NBC News. It seems, well, it was reported that you raised about $1.3 million in a matter of days. It seems staggering. Yet your coverage in the national media isn't being exposed as opposed to Romney.
Could you speak up a little? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So my question is, what do you attribute this lack of interest, it seems, by the media in your campaign?
Oh, well, I feel it mainly has to do with the fact that I stand apart from all my other candidates in the Republican Party, all my running mates. I am an actually true classic Republican. I'm the most conservative. I have never voted to raise taxes. I have never voted to expand the power of the executive branch. I voted against the war initially. I voted against the Patriot Act. Never have voted to regulate the internet. And I feel that I'm sort of a black sheep in a sense, which is humorous to me because I understand real Republicans and I feel alone here.
Congressman Paul, once again, Maria with NBC News. When you first announced that you were running for the primary, we asked you on your stance on the No Child Left Behind policy, and you said that you would not be able to answer at that time. Is this a better time?
Oh, indeed. When it comes to the education question, I of course would just like to see the Board of Education abolished. I think all power should return to states and the parents who understand their children better than a national solidified government or whatever. Just returning the funding or the abilities to run their state education to the states will in turn better make things more responsible and more responsive to the needs of children who aren't as lucky.
No more questions, please. Okay. Thank you.